Working on the car, got a hot body but cold arms. Grab a sleeveless hoodie. Not just for the gym.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Dumb and Dumbbell. We are now at episode number 3. Tres.
Spanish.
Educational.
Okay, not just that, right?
So Nick, what's on today's show?
So today we have product review. We'll be reviewing Moose Juice's brand new flavour, their Tropical of Extreme Energy. We are joined by Luke Hayter in Bridport, and we're also joined by inspirational Chandy, who's going to be talking about his challenges and his journey.
But first, as always, the much loved news and weather report. So we're going to head, yes, confirmation, we're going to go live to Nick Bell for the latest news report. Over to you. Coming to you live from the New Money Studio with your host Nicholas Bell for the latest news report.
We're live. Hello and welcome to the news. So, breaking news today. Unfortunately, we didn't keep up with the repayments on our new studio. We're back where we started. Never mind. In other news, sad news, Captain Tom passed a couple of days ago. In memory of his great positive approach to life, we have started the Captain Tom 100 Challenge. We're challenging you to choose 100 of anything. It could be 100 miles, 100 reps, help 100 people, all through February. So get involved with our challenge through our social media channels. Okay, in other news, we're still closed. Oh God, again. Right, yeah, we are going over to Ross. He is with our latest weather report. I wonder what it's going to be today. Over to you.
Amazing, thanks for that, Nick. So I'm out here now. No chance of rain at all. It's absolutely scorching, so much so I've got a fireman's jacket on. That's the weather. Never mind. Back to you in the studio.
Oh, I thought he dodged it that time. Thank you, Ross, for the weather. Back to the boys in the studio.
And welcome back. Again, an amazing detailed news report from Nick there. So we're going to swiftly move on to our first guest of this episode. Good friend of mine, I've known him for a long time. His name's Chandy, and he's going to talk to you about his story around his mental health and well-being, his battle with brain tumour, which he refers to as Timmy, but I'm not going to spoil it anymore. There may be some things that do crop up in this that you may find hard to digest or take in. If there are any difficulties, please feel free to get in touch or refer to Dorset Mind's website, www.dorsetmind.uk. Over to the interview. Catch you. Hello and welcome back to Dumb and Dumbbell with myself and Nick. We've got another great interview lined up for you. We've got the amazing Chandy, good friend of mine. I've known him for a few years now, and we've done some work together in the past. So we're going to get to know you a little bit better today. So Chandy, over to you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, so my name's Chandy. I'm a disability campaigner and mental health advocate, and I spend a lot of my time going around to different universities, colleges and workplaces to share my lived experience of having what I like to call Timmy the Tumor, which is a pilocytic astrocytoma. For people who don't know what medical term that is, it's a benign brain tumor.
So when did you, is that something that you've always had, or have you just has that just appeared?
So I was diagnosed at the age of 3 after being bounced around from hospital to hospital. I underwent surgery in October of 1998, if I've got my years right. And then I had my second brain surgery 3 years later. So they like monitor your tumor size after they operate on it. And because of how things were back then, they couldn't remove all of it at the time. So over that 3-year period, I had MRIs regularly. Unfortunately, had to go back in for surgery. And then I had 12 years of sort of like remission. So no treatment other than just MRIs and regular checkups with my consultant. And then in my first year at uni, I started having signs and symptoms again. So like headaches, dizziness, blurred vision, things like that. Things that you kind of put off when you're at uni because you go out and you drink. And I had a love for Domino's in my first year at uni. And so I'd just go out, and every like 3 nights out of 7, I'd have Domino's for dinner. And so I think I didn't take good care of myself, and people put it down to that. And I hadn't really had much of a social life growing up because of my anxiety and because of my mental health and stuff. And so I just enjoyed my life and who I was at that point, and then had to go back in for surgery. So that kind of chapter of my life is called Return of the Timmy. And so like he really like changed who I was and my perception of what it meant to be Chandy at that point in my life. And so that kind of journey triggered this whole like journey of challenging the stereotypes of what it means to be disabled, and showing that you can have a diagnosis but you're not defined by it.
But that's a perfect way to start on to kind of like the next bit. So what have you actually done to kind of metaphorically give the little middle finger sort of thing to what's happened to you, and kind of move forward and do it in a really positive and uplifting way? What have you kind of challenged yourself, and what have you done along the years?
So growing up, I did fundraising for the hospital. Like when I was 5, I walked from Bournemouth to Southampton General Hospital to raise money. I shaved all my hair off, which at the moment I really need to do because it's got a bit wild. And
keep the fro. We're setting a campaign. Keep the fro.
And then just kind of did like awareness stuff growing up. Not anything major, but just enough to keep me kind of occupied and keep me aware of what I was trying to do and trying to raise that awareness that was much needed. And then when I was at uni in my first year, there was people telling me that I couldn't do it. Even with support, I would fail, I wouldn't get a degree, and just to kind of go home and sit at home and just get like your average job that I could do that wasn't too strenuous and stuff, and just to accept who I was because of my disability. And that kind of motivated me a bit further. And then when I was going in for my surgery, I had a conversation with the consultant who really changed my perspective and really shaped what I wanted to do. So I was doing social work at uni. It's all about caring for people and really like helping them to be their best. And when I was going in for the pre-surgery check, like the doctor meets you and says, they draw like an arrow on your head, which was really concerning because I was like, why are you drawing an arrow on your head? Surely you know where to operate. And then they like go through the surgery and say what they're going to do. And it sounded like he was going to bake a cake. Like he was just telling Paul Hollywood and Mary Berry how he's going to make this fantastic cake that's so easy to do. And then he was like, do you have any questions? And I was like, the only thing going through my mind was, am I going to be okay? And what's the worst case scenario? And so I asked him just up front, like, am I going to be okay? And he was like, I don't know, like there are risks in any surgery. And he just gave this most human response. And that conversation I had probably to him was just another conversation, like, yeah, I'm reassuring someone who's in a moment of crisis sort of thing. But for me, it stood out. And when I went back to uni to redo my first year and to complete my degree, it really informed who I wanted to be like the next week or the next day. And every time I failed at an essay or something, because I failed a lot, like there was a lot of essays. There was one that I had to do 5 times. And I think I set a record for having to redo it so many times. But it gave me that bit of hope that, you know what, as long as you're helping one person or you're doing what's best for you, there might be risk, there might be challenges, but it will always find a way back to that point that you need to be at.
Have you kind of always had this determination sort of thing, or is this something that stemmed a bit later on when you understood what was going on and how you needed to change your perspective, sort of thing, to not be almost engulfed by it? Where does this determination come from? Because it is incredible. Like, everyone that's hearing about it, it's incredible how even from as little as redoing your essay 5 times over, I'd have quit it too, sort of thing, like because I'd have been like, well, I clearly can't do it. So, but yeah, back to the question, where does this actual determination come from?
I don't know, like when I was a kid, like after my first operation, I remember how sitting in that hospital waiting, like in the ward after the surgery and stuff, being a 3-year-old, there isn't much to do in a hospital that you can do safely and stuff. And so I was like, right, I'm going to buy DVD players for all the kids on the hospital ward. And so that was kind of like my little challenge. So we raised money by writing to celebrities, getting them to donate stuff. We did a raffle, we did the walk, shaved my hair, and little things like that, just to get enough to like raise money for them, so that their time in hospital wasn't so rubbish. Not that my time in hospital was bad, because I had loads of friends and stuff. And I remember like one of my friends from primary school, he would come with like letters from all the kids, like, everyone's thinking of you, like you need to just get better and focus on you and stuff like that. But I knew that there was other kids there who didn't have that whole support bubble around them, and I wanted to change that a little bit. And so I think it kind of like it's built upon from that. And so, yeah, and I think my mental health journey, that with my OCD and anxiety, a lot of it is a fear base around, will I get sick, or will something bad happen to me or the people around me? And so that kind of wanting to raise awareness of that is more so to help other people, because I know that OCD is there's a lot of assumptions and stereotypes around the illness and the diagnosis. And so I really want to challenge that. Like, yeah.
Have you got certain ways that you manage that now? Like, I take it as something that isn't necessarily just going to go away. You've got to kind of find ways to manage that situation and move forward and stay progressive, kind of thing.
Yeah. So that how I've managed it has changed over the years. So when I was a kid, I had like CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. So like one of my big things was around germs, and so they'd help me overcome like touching the dustbin, and not washing my hands repetitively for a long period of time. Just like did it once or twice, and that was enough. But as I got older and I became a teenager, that kind of weared off and didn't really help as much. And then when I went to uni, a lot of the education for social work is around reflection, and really like looking at how hearing these other people's stories is impacting on you as an individual. And so I used a lot of that to help me with my own journey and stuff. So like I keep a journal, I do podcasting, I get up on stage and talk in front of 100 people, because for me that's the best kind of therapy. Like I did a talk at Cambridge Uni a few months ago online, and that for me, sharing my story is kind of like therapy. Like there was, before lockdown, number one, back in February like time last year, I was getting on trains and going up to these places, which for me, going on a public transport is stressful enough, removing the pandemic out of that. And so like there'd be things that happen on my journey up to these talks that I was then telling people about, like, this has happened this morning, like this triggered my OCD. And then I tell them about how I overcome that. And there are like the obtrusive thoughts that happen, and then the compulsions that I have to do to relieve that anxiety. So like washing my hands, or texting my mum 10 times to say, is this going to be okay? Am I going to be okay? Which those are kind of the negative ways of coping with the OCD and the intrusive thoughts. And then there are the positive, like just before going into a talk, I'll go for a walk around the city, or I'll listen to music on full volume and stuff, or I'll just like watch a YouTube video about an inspirational person I've watched like a million times, but just going back to watch it again really helps, and it reminds me why I'm doing it.
So obviously what you're talking about, I mean, obviously it's, as I've mentioned before, it's incredible, but like stemming back from when you was first initially in hospital at the age of 3 sort of thing, from the letters from other children, your friends and stuff like that, to now present day, like reaching out to family and friends and stuff like that to keep that momentum and reaching out sort of thing, that's obviously coping mechanism that you found is really, really beneficial. And obviously you're an ambassador for Dorset Minds. That's how I've got to know you. That's how I've met you over the years. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what made you get into working with and alongside Dorset Mind as well?
So yeah, after I left uni back in 2017, I struggled to find a job, and I struggled so much that I was just emailing everyone, anyone. And I emailed Dorset Mind and said, could I help you and just get some experience, and just wanted to be a part of the journey and help raise awareness of like OCD specifically, but also anxiety and things like that. And then it kind of trickled, like the opportunities that came in from that, they trickled in, and like I just kept doing more and more and more. And I just loved every single second of it. And like the whole ethos around wanting to raise awareness, but also showing that someone can live well with their diagnosis. And there is that sense of hope is something that I really believe in myself. And so being able to help the charity to expand over the last couple of years and just be a part of that journey has meant a lot. And so, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And obviously it's extremely good of you that you are this advocate, especially towards a particular type of mental health condition that targets and triggers so many people. But you're very open, you're very willing to talk about it. And I've had the pleasure of doing a couple of talks with you to schools and stuff, and you are extremely open about it. Obviously, because of how long I have known you for, I am going to bring this up because I can't even run a bath. So on the basis of that and the fact that you've done how many marathons now?
I've done 2. Yeah, 2.
And where have you done them?
So when I was just coming out of surgery, well, just in my first year, I'd made friends with one of the people working in the Students' Union who was like into volunteering, and he delivered all the like community projects and stuff that were going on. And he became like a big brother figure to me, and was like someone I really aspired to be like and wanted to call my friend. And we'd said we should do a marathon together, and we were training for it. And then I started getting sick, and then we kind of put it on hold. But like the weeks after I left the hospital, we were like, right, let's do it. And I thought I'd like reach out to a few charity places, get one. And we were training and stuff. And luckily, like after a long struggle of trying to find somewhere that I could run for, I got a place with Children with Cancer UK. And so we both started fundraising. I struggled so much, like I couldn't run a mile without having to walk. And like he was really doing well, like he was training, and he was running for Mind, the national charity. And so I just kept going. And this was the year after my op. So I was like, I'm just going to fail. I'm going to have to end up walking half of it. Like it's just going to be a whole nightmare. And I just kept training, doing what I could. And I think a lot of people thought I was going to fail. Like I remember there was people saying, "Oh, we've taken bets on like how long you'll last or whether you'll make it the full way or not." And they were joking about it, but I think they were serious. I think part of them was like, we're doing this.
Do you use that as fuel, or are you like, does that like light a fire in your belly, or are you like, or quietly you're just like, no, I can do this?
I think it did fuel me a little bit. Like it did make me think they don't think I can do it. Maybe I just want to prove them wrong. But then I thought I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Then the reason to do it was to raise money and to just prove to myself that I could do it. Because as a kid, I would sit there watching the London Marathon, like one day I'm going to do that. One day that's going to be me. And I'd always like put it off because of different reasons or self-doubt or whatever. And to run a marathon's like, you've got to train a lot. Like, I mean, a lot. Like, I didn't anticipate how much.
Yeah, that's why we have. Yeah.
And so I was like, right, I'm going to do this anyway. And like, we got there and to dare the marathon and stuff. And by this point, for some reason, like they put me on on Lad Bible, all this stuff. Like, this guy's doing a marathon. And I was like, you've built up so much hype now that I have to do it. Like, there's no chickening out and stuff like this. And so the day, like my friend, he was a faster runner, so he was further ahead in like pen 2 or 3. Like he was gonna go for it, like doing under 4 hours or just over 4 hours, I think he finished in. And I thought, it's gonna take me all day, isn't it? Like I'm gonna be one of the last one. They'll have packed up, they'll have gone home, and there'll just be me like trying to find my way around this route that's non-existent anymore. And I crossed the start line, and I kid you not, like this burst of energy and this, like, I just ran. And from in training, when I was doing like a mile in 15-20 minutes, I ended up doing like 9-minute miles.
Wow.
Like I was running a mile in 9, and I was like, how have I done this? Like I just didn't know where it came from. And I kept going, and I got to halfway in 2 hours, which I was like, how have I just run half a marathon in 2 hours? And then even my mum was like, we were checking you on the app, and we had to keep like moving forward because you were going too fast for us. Like we couldn't keep up with you. And I was like, I don't know how it happened. And then, do you remember in Run Fat Boy Run, the film, like where he hits that brick wall? It genuinely felt like I hit this wall, and I was like, I'm gonna have to give up. And this was at like just after the halfway mark, and then I had to walk because I think my body was just exhausted, and so it took me another 4 hours to finish. But when I got to the end, I was like, I've done it, like, and I went back to uni like I've done it, and I felt really chuffed with myself.
Yeah. So on the emotion of that sort of thing, was it quite a really proud moment, or was it quite emotional? Was it like, hope you don't mind me asking that, but obviously where Nick and I have never completed this, like to know the feeling of completing a London Marathon with the thousands upon thousands of people that take part in it. How did it feel? What was the general feeling?
I was sore for a week afterwards, like physically, the pain, but the emotional side of it was like, it just took me back to childhood. And when I was looking at those, like I just remembered like all those people I saw running as a kid on TV. That was me now. Like I was one of those people. Yeah, I might not have been the fastest, or I might have pushed myself too much in the first half and then had to walk the rest, but I still completed it just like everyone else. And both me and my friends said we're not going to do it again. That's enough now. One's enough. And then silly old me, I was like 2 years later, like a charity I was an ambassador for, like to raise the brain tumor charity, who like campaign and raise money and trying to find a cure for brain tumors. I was like, I'll do it for you. And the Lewis Moody Foundation. So Lewis is obviously one of the ex-England rugby captains. And I was like, right, I'm going to do it for his foundation. I'm going to do this. And I trained, and training was harder the second time around because I just I knew what it took. And I got there on the day, and it was the hottest one on record at this point. And I had a knee the size of a football, like, because I was going through treatment for arthritis, and they were like, don't do it, like you're going to push yourself too much. I was like, no, I've signed up now, I've raised loads of money, I want to do this. And I did it, and I had to walk 90% of this marathon because it was just so hot, so painful. And I remember getting to embankment, so just like 2 miles from the finish, and everyone was packing up. The charity had their banners up, but they were literally taking them down as I got to them. And I was like, guys, I'm gonna have to stop. And they were like, no, you've got like couple more miles to go, like we'll walk with you. And I remember them jumping over the barrier and walking the last half with me, like that last little bit. And that for me it reminded me why this kind of fundraising is so important, that sense of community. And it made it so much more worthwhile the second time around. It was more painful, and I think I was sore for so much longer after that week that the first one caused that pain. I think I was sore for like a month, but yeah, it was just so much more worthwhile.
That's amazing.
That's incredible. Like I'm drained just listening to it, sort of thing. But honestly, mate, I mean, I've heard the story before, but probably more than once. But it still gives me that feeling of motivation, that drive. Obviously, for myself, Jim. No, you're Nick, but you're also a gym owner. And it's something that we've seen, especially in the last year to 18 months, sort of thing, is how people are using fitness and exercise to support their well-being. Was that something that you kind of benefited from during your training and those experiences, and even now in the current day, sort of thing?
Yeah, I think in the first lockdown when they were like recommending an hour of exercise, like I wanted to use that hour to the best of my ability, like to try and do something. And I'd signed up to do a 10K that got postponed for Dorset Mind, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to run 5K every day because I can do it in half an hour, 40 minutes. So I just do it. And so for a month, I think for the whole of May, I was running 5K every morning, or every like by midday I was aiming to do it by. And that seemed to like really boost my own well-being and like give me that sense of like, I can do this. And then since then I've kind of like not done much running. I think I like run everything out of me, like all that sense of wanting to run was gone. And so now I just go for a morning walk and an afternoon walk most days, because I think just being outside and that physical sense of going on that journey it's therapeutic, but it's also just, it's nice to get outside during lockdown, even for like a short amount of time, just to get a bit of fresh air. And so if I can't walk in the morning, I'll walk in the afternoon and vice versa. But just going for a walk just to de-stress and be outside is really helpful to me.
Is there anything like any advice you'd give to people who might be in a similar situation in terms of, you know, that just stuff is piling on top of them and they're just not feeling it right now? Like, you know, obviously you've been able to flip it on its head and go, you know, let's get on with this now. Like, any advice or words of wisdom you'd kind of give?
Yeah, I think one thing I always say in my talks and stuff, sticking with the theme of like movies with Dumb and Dumber, and you guys is the name of the podcast. There's a film called Patch Adams, which has got Robin Williams in, and it's based on a true story of a doctor who opens his house up to patients. And there's a scene where he's being interviewed because he's using the term doctor, but like people don't like him using that term, basically. And he says, if you treat a disease, you win, you lose. So going back to that conversation I had with my doctor, but if you treat a person, you win every time. And something to that effect is what he says. And I'd say, like, you're the expert of your own life, your own journey. You might not understand it all, like, but there's things that I don't understand yet, and I'm still discovering myself. But it's going to be okay. And I know it's easy for me to say that, like, it's going to be okay, but I genuinely mean it. Like, it might, like, where I am now is not where I envisioned to be back in 2014 when I started uni. I wanted to be employed full time. I wanted to be like progressing up that scale of going from a social worker to a manager, and up that scale. I wanted to be on that journey, and I'm far from it, but I'm in a place where, yeah, I struggle. Yeah, I'm still anxious all the time and have to take really good care of myself. But there are things that, like, there's moments of hope and moments of like just amazingness, like being able to speak to charities about my lived experience, speak online. I'm doing a talk tomorrow morning to some sixth formers online, just about resilience and about the fact that you don't have to be okay. It goes back to that thing of it's okay not to be okay. It sounds really cliche and really like, yeah, you're just saying that to make a point but I think lockdown and this whole pandemic has proven that no one knows what tomorrow brings. So just take it step by step and day by day, and it'll work itself out.
Amazing. So before we do go into our famous 5 questions, because they are particularly famous and millions of our viewers request them all the time, so they want to hear it. Just a little plug for you, my friend. You have just started a new podcast. Can you just give us a quick insight onto that?
Yeah, so I wanted to do a podcast last year before lockdown number 1, and then that kind of put me back in my like little shielding bubble at home, and really I became really isolated, and like I didn't want to do the podcast because I thought no one's going to listen to it for a start. What do I have to say that's interesting? And then in the first week of this year, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to take a leap into the unknown. So I put a post out on social media. Does anyone want to be interviewed by me for 15 minutes? Nothing formal, just a chat. So I started chatting with Chandy, which is a bit of a mouthful to say, but it's basically me speaking to someone different every week for 15 minutes. There are 4 basic questions I ask them, just about them, their journey, what motivates them, and what their advice is to other people. And so my first episode was on sustainable fashion. I've spoken to my mate Joe about music and how he's chosen happiness over money, and over fame and all that sort of thing. We've got business talk today that's come out, and it's different every week. So there's 3 episodes out already. Gonna release 2 more next week and the week after. So yeah.
Amazing. And what's it called? Where can they find it?
It's Chatting with Chandy, and it's on Spotify, and you can also see it on my website, which is chandy.org.uk.
And in case you did miss that, obviously we'll put those links on the screen if you're watching, but obviously we'll put on our post as well. Chandy, thank you. Obviously, amazing for sharing all that with us. Before we go into our famous 5 questions, obviously Chandy has spoken about some things that may hit home for certain people. If anything has hit home, then please do feel free to reach out. Obviously, our friends at Dorset Mind are there to support anyone. Their website is www.dorsetmind.uk. If anything has risen up today that you have found personally quite hard, then go onto their website and see how they can help you out from there. But right, Chandy, famous 5 time. Do you want to kick things off today? Okay, cool. So these are totally random. You've never seen or heard about these questions before. So it will be like a bit of a quick fire, but let's go for it. So what are you aiming for currently and why, just in your general life itself?
To be happy, just because I think I spent so much time not living because I was an awkward kid at school. I was always awkward. I hated myself. I just had this fear of everything. And so just to be happy and just to try new things and not be afraid.
Amazing.
Perfect. Cool. Number 2, if you could have a meal with any 2 people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Robin Williams, because I think of his journey and stuff, and I think he'd be really interesting to speak to. And who else? David Attenborough.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talks about everything.
Amazing. Question number 3, my friend. If you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would it be and why?
I don't know. I don't think I'd want to be anywhere else other than where I am right now, like in Bournemouth, because I think I'm getting to a place where I'm happy, like with the podcast and just with meeting loads of people and stuff, and I'm happy. I think for the first time, I'm still struggling and I'm still having days where I find it really tough. And I think my mum would say something differently. Like she would tell me, "No, you're stressed and you need to find somewhere else to be just to relax and stuff." But I would say if I was anywhere else right now, I think my anxiety would be higher than what it is now. So yeah, Bournemouth.
Great answer, mate.
All the way.
Great answer.
Hey, if you could speak to yourself 10 years ago, what would you say?
I was thinking about this question the other day, actually. I think I'd say just be yourself, because I spent so much time growing up trying to hide the fact I was disabled, trying to hide all these things. I remember when I was younger going in for surgery on my arm to hide the fact that it had an impairment, and I had a metal plate put into my arm to make it to look visually nicer. And so yeah,
amazing.
I think just be yourself.
Fantastic, mate. And finally, question number 5. If you haven't been inspirational enough in what you've said today, is there a particular inspirational quote you could kind of give us, something that you follow, something that could inspire others?
I can't remember who said it, but I've heard it a lot recently, and it's this idea that a ship is safe in the harbour, but it's not designed to be there. So I don't know who said it, but I think it's the idea of it might be rough out at sea and scary and stuff, but a boat is built to be out at sea and to be out exploring and stuff. And so just, yeah.
I haven't heard that one, but
I haven't, but that's actually as true as it can be. It makes perfect sense. It's not what it's designed to do. So get out there and kind of do it. And that's the way I see that is that's a true reflection of what you've done in your life, mate, and how you've utilized yourself probably in better ways than you probably first have thought. But Chandy, you're absolutely incredible, mate. Your story is incredibly inspirational. Best of luck with the new podcast.
Thank you, Angie.
Obviously, as I've said before, I'm available. If you do want to plug into us, you're more than welcome to do so. And massive thanks from us, myself and Nick, for joining us today and sharing your story and answering the questions that we put across.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
You're a star, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, Chandy. Obviously, a massive thank you there to Chandy for being so open and honest with everything that he's gone through. What an inspirational character he really is. Hopefully that gives some motivation and some drive into everyone else. It certainly has done for myself and Nick. But anyway, over to the next thing.
Yeah, so thank you, Chandy. Now we're moving on to our product review. So every week we review a different product. This week it's the turn of Moose Juice. So they do a range of energy drinks with amino acids in and based around for the fitness market. They're designed for the fitness market. So they've got a new flavour out. It's called Tropical. Very popular product that we have in the shops. Great to use alongside your training. So we're going to open them up, taste a little bit, see what the flavour's like. You looking forward to it?
Can't wait.
Good. Do you like an energy drink yourself?
Especially tropical ones.
Tropical ones are the ones he's going to be very happy with them. So yeah, what we're going to do is have a quick look at it. So you've got 0 sugar in here. There's B vitamins. There's BCAAs. There is only 15 calories per tin. So not a lot at all. Very good if you're watching your weight or your nutritional program or anything like that. So we're going to try the flavour, going to have a little bit, see what it's like, and get some information on what you think. A little bit again. Is there enough for me left? There is. Just finish it then, finish it, go on. So tropical flavour, energy extreme, moose juice. They've got 3 other flavours, berry, a blue one. Wow, that's how you take it.
It looks so alternative.
Well, I guess that says it all. You like that, Yeah? So these are the tropical. We've got a few left in stock. But, all right, we've got a few less left in stock. That's our product review. Moving on. Next, we speak to Luke Hayter from Bridport. Now, he coins himself as Marmite. Love him or hate him. We're passing over to him, and he's going to be talking about his latest project with the NHS. Here we go. Okay, welcome back to Dumb and Dumbbell. Today, we are joined by Luke Hayter from Bridport. So, I've known Luke for a long time. He works out of a club in Bridport, and he's a great asset to the fitness community. So give us a bit of an insight into, what you do, how you started in the industry. And again, thanks for that, following our memo about the grey hoodies in terms of the uniform today. It makes our life a little bit easier, but great to have you on, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my name's Luke. If you haven't seen me before, you've probably heard me, my foghorn voice. It can be very annoying, and a lot of people do compare me to Marmite, so I've got that a lot. And so I do have this personality which you can either gravitate towards, or some people probably think, bloody hell, turn the volume down. So I got into fitness because I just love actually helping people, and I wouldn't actually say the fitness is my real passion as such. It's more about the interaction and the engaging with people, and I just love to chat, and I felt like going down the fitness route was a great way of doing it, because fitness has so many benefits in terms of your mental wellness and well-being. You feel great from it, And also, I just find that chatting to people makes you feel better in yourself. And during this kind of pandemic at the moment, people have had a lot less interaction with each other. And I think that's one of the main reasons why people struggle, because the exercise alone is great, but I feel like it's about the community you're with that makes a huge, huge difference. And I was just saying to you too that I've got a gym in my garage, you know, not a lot of equipment, but I've got plenty of equipment. But I miss the fact that you can chat between sets, have a laugh with people, and you always know that in your gym, I'm always being heard like through the front door. So that, to me, I miss that a lot. And it's great that you can get on Zoom and you can chat to people, but it'll be nice when the gyms are reopen and obviously lockdown ends and we can get back to doing what we were doing and doing it well.
So where did it start for you? How many years have you been doing it now, Luke?
Oh, well, it's quite interesting actually, because when I was younger, I said young anyway, 31, but when I was kind of like, you know, 9, 10, 11, I love food and I've always loved food. And I would honestly say I've got no limit to food. So all you can eat buffets, I destroy. And I was always a bit of a chunkier kid. And you get the little bit of like, you never say bullying. Bullying's extreme, but you always get the friends taking the pee out of you for being a bit of a chunkier lad. And I started to like look into obviously exercise. My dad knew someone who like had a gym in his garage, and he got me on to train. I just got addicted to it, and I did it quite a lot. And if anything, I went too much the other way, and I didn't actually look at, you know, I looked at really cutting back my food, training really hard, and I'd actually say it became more of like an issue then with training. And it wasn't until someone said to me that you look really skinny. I think it was my cousin actually, he was younger. He said my face looked like it had been in a vice grip, you know, like when he had it like when it had been squashed. And after that, I suddenly thought to myself, bloody hell. So one of the blokes just said there was a premier training qualification. So went to college, did sport and exercise science, jumped on to become a personal trainer, and started when I was 18. And I just got into it ever since. So I've been doing it now for about 13 years. But I think for me, it was like I had to go one way so much that way to then realize actually you need that balance. And I still to this day still think I need to make sure I got that balance right. And it's definitely getting better. But I feel like with fitness, it can be very addictive and it can become your route of like escapism in a way. But we need to make sure that actually, you know, if you want that pizza, you should be allowed to have that pizza. Whereas when I first started training, it was hardcore. I know, Nick, you'd be that chicken, broccoli and rice. And if you don't have that 5 times a day, you're a bit of a wussy, aren't you? So it's kind of coming away from that now and understanding a bit of balance. It's that balance, isn't it?
Yeah, I think obviously there's the extreme that you can go to, and if you take it to a competitive level and things like that, I think there is the scale of, you know, where this healthy obsession turns into an unhealthy obsession, I suppose, and actually, you know, from my personal experience in terms of stepping on stage, like I wasn't in my healthiest position then. You know, I wasn't happy. I wasn't. I didn't have any energy. You know, and a bit like yourself, when you have gone to that extreme, you know, you need the other people from the outside to kind of come in and intervene almost and say, actually, this probably isn't the best thing for you. So, you know, I understand what you mean, and I think there's that massive balance of living life as well as being healthy and I don't know, looking after your body. You've only got one body, haven't you? You know, so, you know, I don't know why we put all the money into getting our cars fixed, but we won't put into getting our body fixed. So I think that's a big thing that I found out after I competed.
And I think for me, the gym, I think people think it's like just a place where you get fit, but to me, the gym is my pub. I don't like going to the pub. I don't like drinking really, but I'm not saying that anyone shouldn't drink. That's absolutely fine. But I feel like you've got this community, and it's nothing to do with a cult. You get so many mixture of ages, and what's nice about it, you've got some people that actually enjoy the same thing. And if I'm being completely honest, the last thing I want to do sometimes is do a load of squats or, you know, doing 10-minute circuit or something like that. But I know that the benefits of how I feel after it, that's the massive thing for me. It's the social side that you get when you're doing it, going to have a laugh, and then the workout and the after effects. Because during it, you'd have to be a bit odd if you said you actually just genuinely enjoyed the pain. It's not, you know, and there's a level, isn't there, where we train the medium level. But if you're hardcore, I think it's tough. Yeah. So I would say I'm a mediocre trainer. That's what I'd say. You know, I'd like to say I push myself to a certain level, but to go in those realms of real hardcore training, you know, I kind of on that level.
So you say you kind of emphasize yourself around wanting to help people. What would you say, I don't know, say the three main help you give to people? Like, is there like a criteria that you follow or something that you kind of aim for? Is it the same for every person? Is it different? Just through your experience, mate.
Yeah, I think with a lot of people, they focus too much on one thing. And I like to think of it like pillars. And I think someone else was talking about this. I read it in a book somewhere. You've got like the 7 pillars. And I feel like people go down the route of just work. And that's one pillar. So they can have a really successful career, earn loads of money, but deep down, they're really unhappy. And then you've got the pillar of just exercise, and people come do triathlons or bodybuilding or powerlifting, or just they lose weight. But when they get to their weight loss goal, they're actually still unhappy. And there's so much to me about it. There's like kind of the work, there's the exercise, there's the family, there's the purposefulness, there's the stress management, the sleep. And what's quite nice is I think if you look at all areas and you try and improve by a little percent in each one, that's what true happiness really is to me. So it's kind of having money, but the money allows you to have a vehicle to do what you want to do with your family, like go away with your family and not have your phone constantly going because you've got work stresses and strains. And that's kind of a hard balance to strike, really, I think, with a lot of people. And I mean, I've got a small community. So for you two guys that have got a big community, you know, there's a lot on your shoulders to keep everyone happy. And it must, you know, you've got to have that kind of like managing your stress levels well and, you know, managing your sleep and having time off from it. So I don't know how you two cope sometimes.
So do I, mate. that's why we're asking you how to cope, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By having really big shoulders,
Yeah.
like
and lots of coffee.
and a lot of coffee. Yeah. So obviously, we've certainly noticed the change around how well-being has become a huge part of people's things that they almost look out for in their personal lives now. So how long has it been since you last seen that change and that impact it's had through what you've been able to offer through your personal training?
Yeah, I think like a personal trainer has become extinct in a way, and I think in a way everyone's become like a life coach. I don't think that's not a bad thing. I think that's really good because actually there's only so much rep counting you can do, and most people can go to the gym and get in half decent physique. You know, you can Google training plans. It's quite simple. But I feel like as trainers now, and I think every trainer's doing amazing because they're all offering that extra bit. And I think that extra bit goes a really long way. And I noticed that the last couple of years, really. I mean, for example, when I first started training people, it was you could eat what you want as long as it was good, nutritious food. But then I was wondering why people weren't getting in shape. But everyone was overdosing on coconut oil and, you know, eating free steaks in the evening and, you know, dark chocolate and wondering why they weren't getting in shape. And then calorie deficit kind of came in. And now the calorie deficit's still there. It's still, everyone bangs on about it. But actually, it's not just about the deficit. It's about the feeling good as well. And I think it's a great bit because you could really then help people with some small changes and make a big difference to people's lives.
That's good. So in terms of, you know, where you're going now with your business, obviously you've got some different, you work with a lot of different demographics. I know you've started a project with the NHS. Can you give us a bit of an insight into that and how that's come about and kind of how you're helping out?
Yeah, well, I basically run the contract for cardiac rehab for the NHS for the Southwest. And originally it was all done in venues, so Dorchester, Bridport, Weymouth. And what would happen is, I use you as an example, Nick. I don't want to use you, but say you had a heart attack. And I hope you never do, mate. All right?
I am doing a lot of running now, to be fair. It might happen.
Yeah. And you'd go to your nurse, you have your operation, you know, for your certain specific condition. And the nurse would recommend like 7 weeks of fully funded exercise. And you'd come in, unfortunately, you'd have to then see me or one of our other instructors. And we'd put you on a 7-week exercise program. So it'd just be you meet once a week for an hour. And after that hour, then we have a nurse that comes in and does a talk. And that focuses on stress and sleep, etc. But because of COVID and lockdown, we've now moving that to an online format instead. So we're trying to still keep that community aspect and offer that education, because the problem with COVID hitting, everyone's focused so much on COVID, which I have a rule in my groups. We don't talk about COVID. It's a bit like Fight Club. You don't talk about Fight Club, you know, because otherwise you find that everything becomes consumed around it. And I'd like to say a bit about the mental wellness. Then I completely get it's okay not to feel great. And I get many a days when I don't feel great. This is going off on a tangent. I always do this. But what I like to try and do is get my members or friends to try and focus on good things in their day, as opposed to kind of, you accept it, you kind of say I'm having a bit of a bad day, and then you have your go-to kind of good things. Because yesterday I had a bit of a day where I was feeling a bit flat, but what you don't want to do is sit on the sofa and kind of dwell on it. You want to kind of try and switch off and go for an outside walk, or have a coffee, have a chat with your friends and stuff like that, and try and get your mindset out of that kind of funk, because we all get it. And I think you'd be a bit of a Pinocchio if you said you were kind of like resilient and hardcore the whole way through this COVID pandemic. And you see a lot of people on social media, you know, with all the posts they're writing, and all the trainers say, oh, I'm smashing COVID, you know, best thing ever, best thing for my business. I would argue you'd be a bit of a fibber if you said that the COVID's the best thing that's happened in your life. And if you haven't struggled during this pandemic, then I'd have to ask you to physically sit down and really think about it, because I think everyone struggled. I mean, what would you two say?
Hold on, who's interviewing who?
would you agree though? Because I feel like sometimes I just say things and people think, what the hell are you on about?
Yeah,
Well, I wasn't expecting that. I was just like, oh, that's a question. But
yeah, 100%. Everyone,
yeah.
you know, I think if you, you know, social media is a highlight reel, isn't it? And I think that's the problem. Like, you know, you follow a lot of people and you see their highlights, but you don't realise the low lights of the actual real life. You know, we were talking yesterday, and we created a you know, obviously with the day before with the passing of Captain Tom. You know, he was a massively positive kind of guy, and a lot of his quotes and a lot of his interviews were based around tomorrow being a good day. Like, you know, the birds will tweet and the sun will shine and tomorrow's going to be a great day. And just kind of, you know, if he can push that onto people, I think that's what we need. And so we came up with the Captain Tom 100 challenge to put out to our community and anyone who wants to get involved. And you basically challenge yourself to do 100 of anything. So it could be 100 miles, it could be 100 reps, it could be help 100 people for the month of February, and then basically just to kind of carry on his legacy, but also give everyone else a bit of positivity, I suppose. And those days when you, like you say, you are feeling a bit flat, which a lot of people are more commonly now. You know, you've got a little bit of a challenge to concentrate on and get on with.
Yeah, I think it's like, for me, I like to go, I love my Instagram, I'm not going to lie, I like my stories, and I always share the takeaway on a Saturday and, you know, or the Friday. Me and Becky have a rule, we have like 2 takeaways a week, and we try and make sure that we go somewhere different each time. Now, people would just see the takeaway and go, oh God, you eat like rubbish maybe, but I'm not going to show them the protein smoothie I have every single morning, 6 days a week, and the poached eggs on Sunday, because then I'm not going to show the same lunch I've had every single day, because I'm quite a routine-based person. But I'm only going to show them the cool bit, like the cheesecake from the station kitchen, or I don't know, the pizza from Prohibition I'm going to have tonight. You know, that'll be on my story. But the like kidney bean, chicken, veg, you know, salad I'm going to have at lunchtime today, what people don't want to see that. But I don't want people to feel like you can get away with eating everything you want to eat, you know, and do a couple of steps and all of a sudden it's all right. You know, I make sure I factor that in 1 week. I've got it planned out, and that's something I actually look forward to having. But I put the groundwork in to be able to enjoy that. Yeah. Another big thing as well, it's like with the, you know, the sea swims and, you know, the whiskey barrel that I've got. A lot of it, I do it because it's kind of like what I want to try and protect my energy. And I read a lot, which is painful, I know. I mean, it's dangerous for someone like me to read a lot. But Wim Hof says about breathing, and he says about cold water therapy. And I'm one of those people that thinks, well, if a bloke from the Netherlands can jump in a whiskey barrel when he said he feels electric afterwards, why not do it every single day? So just jump in there. And I think it's one of those things, don't knock it till you tried it. And
I think one thing we need an explanation of for the millions of viewers that we blatantly have every single week is you're mentioning a whiskey barrel. It's not full of whiskey, it's full of cold water, ice water, isn't it?
Yeah, and I stupidly paid 300 quid for it, and then some bloke emailed me and said he had one of those for free. And I was like, you know, after you bought it, I was like, oh, for God's sake. But it makes it, I try and make things easy for myself. So like to go down to West Bay and jump in the sea when it's raining, it's just an excuse. It's going to take me 40 minutes out of my day. But if I've got a whiskey barrel filled with cold water, I can jump in it for 5 minutes and I get the same effects from it. And I would say you could do the same for the shower. and all you do is you do a warm shower, and afterwards you do 30 seconds of cold, and it just puts you in that electric environment. I just feel when I come out afterwards, I feel awake, I feel alert, I feel charged up. And if I could get that every single day, especially when it's so dark and dingy outside today, it just makes that little massive thing. And a lot of people say about, it's always about eating that frog first thing in the morning. It's doing something you don't want to do, and then you feel like much better afterwards.
All right. It's really good.
I'll start eating frogs.
Yeah.
Eating frogs, drinking whiskey.
Eating frogs.
Drinking whiskey.
Yeah, drinking whiskey.
I'll be happy.
Yeah. The thing is, see, with alcohol, it's just like people that know me, they know that I'm not amazing on alcohol anyway. Because like that's the thing. I think I tend to like avoid alcohol or minimize it. But the thing with me, it's like the short-term feeling when you like of greatness in the evening. You unwind with a glass of wine, but the next day you feel a bit like crappy, a bit like slow, lethargic. And then what do you do after the day's work? Another glass of wine. And I feel like it's that short-term pleasure, but long-term unhappiness. Actually, the exercise and the meditation and stuff is a much longer-term thing. It takes a lot more effort, but you get much long-term pleasure out of it.
Where do you want, obviously you're quite passionate about the other side of things, which aren't necessarily exercise, but actually the things that kind of can help you out in terms of your day-to-day life. Have you got anywhere you want people to kind of follow you to kind of get hold of that information, or have you got any information that you're pushing out like through your social media channels or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely. So it's Luke Hayter Fit on Instagram, and I just put out what I do on a daily basis, and a lot of my videos I put out are just short videos trying to help people. But if anyone needs any help, I'm always happy to answer questions, etc. And there's never any charge for that, because I feel like if you give people a bit of information, they might then implement that information, and might not be a month, a year, 10 years down the line, they kind of remember you. So I always a big believer in like what you put out, you get back. So it's always nice to kind of help people out. And I know like you two have always helped me, for example. Great facility. I mean, I love it, and the atmosphere in there's really good. And I mean, I love it so much. That's why I moved from somewhere else to come to there. So it's always worked well for me.
Well, we'll put your stuff on the description anyway. And I know you've got if you've got a free Facebook group as well. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. And we do different challenges in there. And I need to get my house in gear to do my own challenge, haven't I? Because I'm going to join in with your one anyway. So
do the 100 challenge.
Do the 100 challenge. Yeah, I'm going to
have 100,000 miles. 100,000. Something along those lines.
I signed up for 100k before lockdown. And it got cancelled, so I was quite happy it got cancelled. But now I feel like I want to do it.
Yeah.
But it's
the coastal challenge.
Do it to. Yeah, I know I can't go out that far, but I was thinking you could just walk around Bridport for 100k. But then God, yeah, I'm trying to rethink it. I have these good ideas sometimes, but I have to sit down and have a word with myself sometimes.
Well, maybe that's something that we try and set up once all this is over. We set up our own big ultimate challenge like that and try and get people involved, raise some money and stuff like that. So that's a combined forces sort of thing, and get people from both of our areas to do so.
Definitely, yeah. I think it'd be really good. I think they a lot of books I read, they say you've got to do that kind of challenge that really challenges you. Because at the moment, I feel like I'm always in a comfort level. So I think when you take yourself to that level where you really push yourself, whether it's physically or mentally, you get that sense of like satisfaction afterwards. And again, it's that real push towards it. I think it's a real enjoyable process, and I've never pushed myself that far before. So it's always a fear of not being able to do it. But I think if you actually get to that cusp of doing it, there's an amazing feeling. And it doesn't have to be 100k, and I'm not like bragging that I could walk 100k or a marathon. But I think for a lot of people, just running a couple of kilometers a day, I think it's a massive achievement in itself.
Yeah, thanks.
You haven't done that. Yeah.
That's what I'm going for. Aim for the moon, they say, don't they?
Definitely. Yeah, you're being mate. It's one of those things, walking like running's just, it's a mental game. I think everything's a mental game. It's not really physical. It's like lifting weights. You've got to have that confidence. I know a lot of people I see in the gym lifting big weights, and I think, how the hell can they lift that? But it's a lot of it's in your head, isn't it? It's that mental game all the time.
Yeah. Right. So what we're going to do now is move on to our famous 5. This is our new thing, isn't it?
Famous five. That's 5.
So these are 5 questions, a little bit more outside the box, help people to get to know you.
I can't remember.
Okay, they are pretty famous.
Yeah.
I know the first one. If you can do the second one. Do you get the second one? Right. So number 1, if you weren't in the fitness industry, what would you be doing, or what do you want to be doing?
I think for me, it have to be being like, I'd love to be a presenter of a quiz show. You know, I imagine myself being like a Bruce Forsyth. You remember back in the day, Bruce's Play Your Cards Right?
Yeah.
I would love to do it. I mean, I've got the worst jokes, right? I've got a loud mouth and I just talk. So either it's got to be a radio show, because probably I haven't got a face for TV, or it's got to be a quiz show. Like, I just think the energy you get from that would be amazing.
Like that.
Amazing. Question 2. If you could have a meal with any 2 people, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I had to think about this one, really big think, because you go 2 routes. But Ross Edgley, and if you haven't heard of Ross Edgley, he swam the whole way around the UK, and he swam for like 10, 11 hours in the sea every single day for like 200 days, or more than that, I think. And I've read his book, Art of Resilience.
Yeah,
And
I've literally just read that as well.
Mate, after I read that, I sat there and I just thought to myself, you know, there's me moaning about a 50-minute gym session, or, you know, working on a laptop or doing a Zoom session. And there's a bloke that literally just got in the sea and swam day in, day out, day in, day out. And he had jellyfish bites and stings all over him and cuts in his wetsuit. And I think if you could have that mentality and take that, even just 1/10 of it, or even 100th of it, you know, you're set for life. And the number 2, I'd have to say Ricky Gervais, because even though people don't always like him, I like the fact that he doesn't care what he says. You know, he says what he wants to say, and that's what he says. And I think nowadays people have a lot of worry about what they say sometimes. And I think, you know, he has this view set, and I don't agree with everything he says sometimes, and I don't find all his stuff funny. But I just think, you know, he says it and he doesn't apologize for it. That's just who he is. And I think that's quite a cool way to be, because I think some of the things I've done in the past before, I dwell too much on the mistakes I've made, and I overthink stuff. I'm a massive overthinker, and I may have said things to people, you know, in the past, or done things I shouldn't have maybe done. But I think with him, he just has that attitude of, you know, I've done it, I've said it, that's it, move on.
Yeah, like that.
Amazing.
Okay, number 3. If you could be anywhere in the world right now, transport to anywhere you want, where would it be?
It's cliche in it, but I'd love to be on Ibiza right now. Yeah, maybe not with Way Lineker. I couldn't go Ocean Beach, but I'd love to be. Yeah, just I love a dance event, so I'd have to be at Ibiza, sun shining. You know, maybe not 6 o'clock in the morning, because that's when you feel depressed, but maybe about 12 or 1 in the morning, I'd be happy then.
Right. Amazing. If you could speak to yourself 10 years ago, what would you say to yourself?
Don't be so much of a gobshite. But then the problem is with saying that is, the problem being is, I don't think I'd be the person I am. And that's the big problem, because I'm a loudmouth person. I don't always filter what I say, but I think I wish sometimes I probably did think about things I said, because some of the conversations I've had, I've sometimes said it and I thought, what the hell have I done saying that? But I would always say it's like the personality of me. I'm always going to be a loud person. And I feel like people that like the energy and they like the enthusiasm, they'll come to training. And if people want a more reserved, quieter coach, they'll then go and see someone else. So I think you can't be everyone's cup of tea. But I feel like if you kind of, you know, you're liked by a group of people, I think, great, keep doing your thing and just be who you are.
Perfect.
Nice.
Last one, leaving everyone on a high. Have you got an inspirational quote that you live by, that people are going to get a tattoo of, or they might put on their kitchen wall or their bedroom wall, I'm sure, after this? So what's your inspirational quote to go for?
God, do you know what? I find I do affirmations in the morning, but I always find them a bit cheesy, you know, like we live by. But a friend of mine, he used to always say like carpe diem on his Twitter profile, and I didn't even know what it meant, like, to start off with. I still might get this wrong now, but it like seize the moment.
Seize the day.
I think that's seize the day. There you go, seize the day. And I think that's quite a nice quote to say. You know, I think too much a lot in the future, and I'm always like, well, what's next all the time? And I think I've done some great things, you know, in terms of work and business and, like, you know, enjoyment things. But I'm always in the past reflecting on what I've done badly. I'm always in the future thinking of what's next. And I think if you could be one of those people, just sit there in the present, quite happy, reading a book, just drinking a coffee, I think it's a bloody good. I want to take some tips off those people, because I think that's the people who have made it, you know, who can just relax, sit here in the present and just enjoy the moment, apart from thinking what they haven't got or what they need to be doing all the time.
Perfect. Carpe diem.
Carpe diem.
Catch on.
That's the one.
That's
yeah,
one,
I nicked it from someone else anyway.
All right, mate. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Round of applause. Yeah, like I say, we'll chuck all your handles up on the screen anyway. But obviously, if you want to follow Luke, make sure you follow him on social media, Instagram, Twitter.
No, I don't really do Twitter. No, not anymore. No,
No.
I'm not just in Instagram and Facebook. I think I'm on there enough. I can't talk on Twitter, can I?
Oh, that's a problem, I suppose.
Type is characters.
Shit chat.
Too much effort for me. Yeah, that's the thing. You can't do it, can you? But I would like to add everyone that for anyone who does watch this, make sure you do continue staying a member of New Body, because that's where I train my clients. So for me, that's the hub where I train. And I'm not just like sucking up to you two. I think you created a great community. And I've been to your Weymouth one a lot, but I'm a hardcore Bridport man. So Bridport's where the heart is for me. But I know you've got the two great venues. But I do think there's something about training in a facility. And I understand the online training at the moment is what we have to be doing. But when we do finish online training, COVID does come to an end at some point. Don't keep going with your online coaching. Get back into the gyms, get back into social interaction, because that's where the longevity is and that's where sustainability is.
So, all right, mate. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck, and we'll see you very soon in the club, hopefully, mate.
Look forward to it. Have a good one, you two. All right.
Cheers, Luke. Welcome back. Huge thank you to Luke for taking that time out of his very busy day, by the sounds of things, to give us that interview. So massive thanks from him.
So through the show, we've been talking about Captain Tom 100 Challenge. So this is a challenge we put together for the local community. Whoever wants to get involved can do, where you set yourself a challenge to do 100 of something in the month of February, just to keep the positivity spreading and keep us all motivated, as well as remembering Captain Sir Tom Moore as well. My challenge, I've set myself 100 kilometres run. So through the month of February, I'm going to try and run 100 kilometres, not in one go. I'm going to break it up, but I started yesterday and I am feeling it already. What have you got going on?
I've decided that I can't even run a bath, so I'm not going to be doing that. So I'm going to do 100 miles worth of cycling from now until the end of February. So I'll be covering 100 miles in remembrance of him.
Good stuff. So make sure you get involved in that challenge. You can do it through any of our social media channels. You don't have to be a member of the club or anything. It's just something that we're just trying to spread the love a little bit. Final thought. Tongue-tied. Oh, I've lost it. My final thought for today comes from Captain Tom himself. So the sun will shine on you again, and tomorrow will be a good day. So we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. See you again next week. If you come back, please come back.
You will come back for episode 4 with 2 more interviews, more news and weather, and another product review that I'm sure will go down really well again.
Thank you for watching, guys. See you soon.